Hello there. Welcome to another episode. This is Vinod Narayan, and today we have a guest, Dhanya Rajendran, and she's a founder of the News Minute portal, the news portal, and we're going to talk about independent media and what problems they face. And it's an interesting conversation. If you have not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe it. Like, comment, share.
Hello,
What time is it there?
this 9 a.m. I think there was a small confusion. I said 9 a.m. my time, 9:30 a.m. your time. I think you didn't
Yeah,
join
I checked
half
it
an hour
9,
ago.
9 p.m. Then I realized that it's 9:30. Then I went off.
Yeah. So so there's no particular format for conversation. It's just being recorded. We start from here, and so the reason was so for few months, in fact, I wanted to talk to someone specifically on media. And maybe because I'm confused what media is up to and what people are really expecting from media. And I'm on a sabbatical without media for the past probably about a month and a half. So except for a few things that social media pushes to me, I really don't know what's happening. Not that I don't care, but I'm just taking a break and seeing if that, and that doesn't make any difference to my life is what I understood. Except that except that when news come, you would want to react to it, you want to respond to it. But if you don't get the news, you don't want to respond to it. So I think the role of media comes to the point where you have to bring the news in front of people, because otherwise people will be so inconsiderate, they don't know what's happening, they don't care, kind of stuff, right? So still news media has that. But also for people, they would decide not to read news, because a lot of people would tell me, why do you even talk about things that are happening over there? Can't you just stop talking about it? Let's talk about good things, let's talk about movies, let's talk about everything that there's no friction happening. um, so so talking about what's happening in the society creates friction, so stop talking about it is what I hear a lot from people, which I don't agree, but I just want your thought, and then maybe that's where we can start.
Okay. So first thing, do you want me to answer fully in Malayalam, English, or combination?
No, I think you can do the two ways. You can do because most of the audience who read News Minute are going to be in English. So I thought that'd be good if it is in English, but Malayalam audience will definitely get it. See, in Kerala, people understand English. It's just
Yeah.
that they won't be able to. So the response might come in Malayalam, but that's okay. So we can go in English. I think that would be better.
Okay. See, because I'm someone who was born and brought up in Kerala, I've had this a passion to reading news, to understanding news right from when I was in college. I think I was also deeply into college politics. I studied in Government Victoria College in Palakkad. I don't understand people who say like, why should I be bothered about news, about things around me? I have friends, I have family, neighbors who all say the same thing. But I want to ask them, how can you be indifferent to what is happening around you? How can you be apolitical to what is happening around you? For example, if you're an Indian living in America and you say, I don't want to know news, you still have to know what Trump is going to do about his visa policy, about his immigrant policy, right? If you are a Muslim in India, if you're a Dalit in India, if you are poor in India, can you just isolate yourself from news and say, you know, until it comes to your doorstep, is that when you're going to be bothered about news? Till you are the one who's affected by whatever is happening around. And don't we as human beings, as citizens, we owe something back to society, right? Because നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുന്നതും, where we work, everything. I think we owe a lot to society, and it's important, it's imperative that we know what is happening around us, the place that we live in, the country that we live in, and the country that we belong to if you are living outside. So I don't think that, and I feel the younger generation is much more into news than maybe my generation was, because I see my son who's 9 years old. He and his friends actually discuss news, and I hope that goes on, because we need a new generation of people who have a new set of perspective, whose sense of justice is much more stronger than ours. Illengil, they will also end up being in the situation that we are today. Like this conversation that we are having now is at a time when I'm feeling at an all-time low. Generally, I'm not a person who gets bogged down or stressed out by news or negativity. I am someone who, I'm a workaholic, so I let work take care of everything. But the last 4 or 5 days have been very difficult, just as a woman, to keep watching news, to keep reading. So even for me, it is difficult. I'm not saying it's not. But should I not know what is happening? I mean, if you really want to know only good things, then good. Watch something on YouTube, Netflix, whatever, be happy. Nobody's stopping you from doing that. But you shouldn't stop yourself from knowing what is happening around you, because today it is affecting someone else, tomorrow it may affect you. So, you have to start knowing things.
No, that's I fully agree with that in terms of a few things. One is the next generation is more plugged into what is happening. Like my 13-year-old and my 21-year-old, both of them are plugged in very well into what's happening over here. But maybe because my audience is quite different, because I'm living over here and a lot of my audience are based out of Kerala, and that has a different level of audience. Now there are audience in my generation nearing 50, and their generation in the 30s. Then the major chunk of people who are, which analytics tells me is between 22 to 31, is what my uh, audience is. And there's a lot of people who are currently looking for job, employment, they want to do something in life and all those things. And they're thinking that their involvement into what is happening over there, and especially because when you go to this channel Charcha, for specifically to mention that thing, that's what actually gets me so nauseating when I watch. So maybe that's what is stopping other people also doing. I mean, why the heck am I watching this? I on the TV. This is what it is. Where do I go and talk? Kind of stuff, right?
See, I think
Yeah.
the news audience in India have to differentiate between three types of media. One is television, one is digital, and one is print. In my perspective, TV and digital and print cannot be compared. Digital and print do much more responsible journalism, I feel. See, Malayalam is an exception because Malayalam, there are a lot of websites which I don't understand sometimes how they report, what is the basic, norm which they follow while reporting. So I don't want to get into language per se. So generally, I feel that print and digital, in English at least, they do better reporting. Television, see, I am someone who was in television for 8 years. I worked with Arnab Goswami for 8 years. I was all about nation wants to know. I mean, I really thought that millions of people were watching me every day and I was really important. But then one fine morning, I realized that the nation doesn't want to know what I'm saying all the time. And I couldn't take it anymore. It was just so stifling to work in an English television channel. I quit. And in fact, I quit in 2013. It's been 7 years since I quit TV. Every year I keep thinking television will change, English TV will become better. But I think with this Sushant Singh in the case and this rape in Uttar Pradesh, especially the Sushant Singh death case, TV has gone into such a huge hole that it's very, very difficult for them to actually climb out from it. Because see, when you do this much of unethical stuff, the next time you're going to think, okay, maybe I shouldn't do it. But when you've done this much of unethical stuff, there's really no going back. Now it's just going to get worse. But of course, the UP rape coverage has brought back some semblance of reporting, at least on a few channels. But I think people should look at print and digital more and understand that Indian television channels are so lazy. They do not have a format. They have only two formats through the day. One is a reporter standing on live and saying, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. The second format is talking heads who sit and talk through the night. And mostly you see the same people. Like I get called almost every day for a TV debate, but I hardly go simply because first thing, I don't want to talk about things that I am not an expert in. For example, for a long time, I would only speak about Tamil Nadu politics because that's the only politics I've actually covered being in that city. And then Karnataka. But I'm still not very confident about talking about Karnataka politics all the time. I do go for any debates on feminism or small incidents that have happened. But I'm amazed that everybody comes on TV and just sits and discusses. That's a cheap format for television. You don't have to, there's not much spending on that, right? From around 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock bulletin to 11 o'clock, you have the same format where you have these talking heads. So you are spending minimum. You just have a studio and you have all these guests. Some of the guests you pay, but that's also like 4,000-5,000 per appearance. I don't know how much is in Malayalam. So it's a cheapest way to run television, and the audiences have to reject those models. How many years will we watch the same thing over and over again? We have to reject these models. Television in India has to innovate, has to do something different.
No, yeah, yeah. but rejecting. Um, but if people were rejecting, they wouldn't be doing it because no one does anything on TV that people are not there to watch, right? So that's where the striking that balance is where the biggest challenge comes. Um, and I just to before I
No,
start, I just took the loyalty program of News Minute because I think that is a model in which uh, independent media can survive, and I think that is an important thing. But so which comes to the point. I used to respond to a lot of things that's happening there, and then I feel bad after some time. I feel bad in the sense I feel wasted at times. That'd be the right word. Once you respond to certain thing, you feel wasted after some time because it's the same rut, it's the same people, it's the same thing, it's the same rational, it's the same illogic, it's the same. So then you start explaining to people about what about we and what aboutism, and this is what is happening. See, just the recent incident that happened where people were talking about Bhagyalakshmi and the whole video incident. Now, I made a couple of videos. I spoke about him, and people started asking, "Can we stop this now? I mean, can't we move on?" So then my answer was that, see, when there was a Solar case and there was a Sarida involved, when there was a Swarna case, when there was a Swapna involved, and now this case, and when there was a Palatai case where Jolly was involved, you guys took it for days and months and continuously going through it with memes and outside, inside, everywhere, right? But now when this issue comes, you want to move on. So media knows that the amount the viewership is all people who want to hear this news, and that's why they kind of get it. How who has to reject what is what I'm thinking.
no, I completely agree. See, I'm saying call out the hypocrisy of the media. I mean, for example, I'm a journalist. Most times people don't agree with what I'm saying. A lot of people hate me, dislike me. I'm not here for a popularity contest. I understand very well that you may not like me, you will be impolite to me, you will abuse me, whatever. So you call out the hypocrisy of the media. I'm not saying don't, but also call out the hypocrisy of the reader, the viewer, and everyone. I will give you two examples. Why is Sushant Singh death being covered so much on television? See, other than the fact that television news channels are getting viewership, which is certain channels are getting more viewership than the others, the number of people who are watching news has increased. For example, just to explain to your audience, if 45 lakh people, a very small amount of people actually watch English news in India, okay? I think it's around 55 lakh people watch English news every day. That number went up to 70. That's a huge jump. Now, a small jump could have been because it's a pandemic, people are sitting at home, they don't know what else to watch, so they watch news. But there is a larger population of people who started watching news simply to see what is a conspiracy. Therefore, television channels are doing more of it. So, blame the reader, blame the viewer. I run a website, right? So, if I put a story on, remember that Alappad mining happened,
Yeah.
or Chennai, there were floods, and we talked about how mangroves of Chennai should be protected. If I put a story like that, trust me, in 30 minutes, there'll be 100 shares. But I know that only 5 people have actually clicked. They just share it because it looks beautiful on their Facebook wall. Because other people think, oh my God, they're reading such intelligent articles. Because people have to realize that it's not just media that's hypocritical, it is also the viewer and the reader who is. And once we both recognize how hypocritical we are, I think we will progress.
No, very, very, very rightly said, because the thing that you told about share. Now, there are a lot of people who comment not comment, who actually send me message saying that this video I saw, but I don't usually comment and share. Okay. Now, the people who share are people who think that their prejudices are being reinforced in the video or in the news, because they want to share it not because the news is good or news is bad or anything like that, but they want to make sure that their idea can be propagated, and this is a piece that they can showcase. So people who share are quite different from people who really consume news and try to understand what is happening. And I think that differentiation, which you rightly said, TV doesn't need that differentiation. TV needs only the eyeballs. Now, it's not people, not even brains that can think. It's just eyeballs that can see, right, and ears that can listen. But if it's a if it's a print media or say digital media, I think people have to put some effort. Now, the point that you said about lazy, that's a right thing, because you need an effort to read something, analyze something. And I think one of the things is that you don't have a forum to involve, just like how TV and YouTube and all these things have, right? Many times. Um, as a blogger, I found that people used to involve, but most of the time I put a blog, but involvement and engagement happens on social media.
I know.
So you cannot, even you blog, you have to make sure it is there on social media so you can really get some feedbacks on what's happening. Because the other blog communication stuff is not as good as the. So how do you look at that engagement activity happening with News Minute? People reading News Minute, where do they engage? Where do they talk of a news that's happening on News Minute?
So, see, what you talked about is the echo chamber. Basically, even when I share a news, let's say from the Wire or the Hindu or the Indian Express, I share what is already my perspective of that news. So I want to reinforce my thoughts and also impose it on other people. That is our whole Facebook algorithm is such that it shows exactly the people who you believe in. Like in my family, there are certain people who obviously don't think the same way as I do about, let's say, CAA or NRC or other things. So I hardly see their posts because Facebook has just tailored everything for me to show only people who agree with me, right? Now, as far as the news minute is concerned, that's a huge problem for digital because, see, comment section in the website most of us cannot have because we have that infinite scroll, right? So most of the engagement happens on Facebook or Twitter, which I think is meaningless to a large extent because these are people. Facebook is still better. Twitter are mostly people who don't read, but they just want to abuse or they just want to outrage, which is why we have created a platform now for called TNM forums. It's only for members. So, like you said, you took the loyalty membership. We were thinking how to be independent. Now, the big question for us, especially the way our country is functioning now, you see what is happening in Uttar Pradesh right now. So the big challenge before any media house is to be independent. And what is the one big way to be independent? To ask your reader to pay for what they're reading. So we are not such a huge website or we are not indispensable that way that people are going to pay to read us. So we are only telling people that, look, our news is free for everyone, but you become a member of the News Minute, you pay a certain money, become a member, and we have a forum for discussion. In fact, you should come on that forum because we are slowly starting the forum. So we want more discussions, more debates there, which are more sensible, and there are no screenshots floating around and putting people into trouble. And let's say if something happens, God forbid, there's a flood next year somewhere. We want a small community which will come together. So I think as a news organization, we are thinking of building smaller but more dedicated communities, because there is no point trying to reach 10 million people and telling them news, forcing them to read news or making them think in a way.
You're breaking. Okay, now we are back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is a niche. So so for me, there is a niche. Now, Facebook, for example, gives the niche a top fan badge, but that's not the niche I am looking for. Anyone who has abused me for the past 2 years gets a top fan badge. That's not the niche I'm looking at, right? So today, a gentleman sent me a message and said that, why did you block me on Facebook and you not allow me to come? And I said, So I think and I have a problem with his ideology and what he puts out. But I had connected with him at some point in my life, and I said that I want to keep that connection. Okay, so the only way is that I get you rid of you on social media. That's the only way that I can even communicate with you if I meet you in person. So I have personally cut off people from family, from friend circles, from everyone out on social media. They don't exist for me on social media. They're blocked. I don't see them. They don't see me because these are people I meet once in a year, once in 5 years, and one phone call one fine morning, and I just don't want that that conversation to be derailed and go into all these crap and that essence of two people communicating with is lost. So I kind of completely block these people out. But that there is a niche. There's still a niche that comes in. For example, people who would need News Minute, you would have different people. And News Minute for me, I think there would be a larger niche because from the whole number of people who read News Minute, I think your niche that you would create would be large enough, is what I would think, because there are no people who listen 5 different channel charcha on the same topic spoken by 50 different people. Those are not the people probably who would read News Minute many times for a news, but they would read when they get confused. See, that's where the point would come, because this is if you're confused, come over here, then you can get a clarity into talk about things, and that is what is missing. And social media is not the place where you can deconfuse yourself or give clarity to things, right?
No, of course, I agree. See, you have the luxury of blocking people, but I'm a news person, so I generally don't block people. I mean, I only block people if they call me prostitute. I detest that word. I block people if they sexually harass me on social media, and of course, I hate people who tell me stuff like "you have taken money." I mean, if all journalists want to take money, they could have taken money from millions of people and become very rich. They don't have to ask for membership, right? So those kind of things really put me off. But otherwise, I try to engage, but I think with age, I've realized, especially in the last 6 years of this government, I've realized that we have not changed too many people from the way they think. They still think the same way, and they are becoming more adamant in the way they think. So my point is this: whichever government is in power, as a journalist, my duty is to speak truth to power. My duty is that journalism is for public good. So in that periphery, whatever engagement I have to have, I will have. If people ask me doubts, yes. On Facebook, sometimes I like to troll people back, so I do that. Uh, but that interaction is very necessary. Pakshay, for a journalist, it can get a bit problematic also. In the sense, sometimes for example, I had done some random discussion with someone I can't even remember, with one very popular Malayalam Facebooker. She had written something, and I wrote a comment below that. Beneath that comment, someone else wrote something which was really abusive. I hadn't even seen it because I don't even get notifications properly for my comments. The screenshot is everywhere, suddenly saying that I said this, I endorsed that guy's comment. So, which is why it is very problematic for a news person to sometimes sit and engage on social media, because you just don't know where that conversation is going to end up with. So, I think as human beings, all of us should know this is a social media persona of mine. There is a there is a circle of mine, or family, friends, whatever, of which some people you don't want to indulge with because you know that it's going to end up in a fight. And then you have a close circle of people who are your friends with whom you can speak your mind out. I think that is what is needed these days for our sanity. And if you don't have those three circles clearly demarcated, you're going to be a very confused personality if you think that people who comment on your social media circles are actually your friends.
Yeah, very true. And and in social media, and that was one thing that I wanted to check up, because as a news person, as a journalist, I think there is a journalist and even business people, see, social media, you don't want to say things in social media. You don't want part in a discussion which would later create so much issues, because you have to run a business, you have to run a media house, and all those things would be different, because people think it is the same person, right? The
Yeah.
professional in you and the other person. So how do you as a news, and it's not just for you, it's for a lot of people in news media who would the the, the news media house they work with, and the ideology of that and their ideology and everything. That's a pretty interesting mix, right?
No, no, it's a mess. Like, for example, I am the editor of the News Minute and I have around 30 reporters, right? And most of them are 22 to 25 years old, young and raring to go. Like, for example, there was this one incident where one of my reporters, he was having a conversation on Twitter with someone and he said that the army has been accused of raping women in Kashmir. But I knew there are 2 cases of sedition against him. And then we are just like scrambling to figure out what to do. And I've tell him that, lie low for some time. I mean, I have made some irrelevant, horrible jokes in 2011, 2010, which I wouldn't make now. But I was an insensitive person in 2011, 2010 because I told you where I was working. So I was insensitive myself. So I've written insensitive stuff at that time. And then somebody will come with a screenshot. So I have now realized that I need to control what I say because it can come back to me after many years. Like today, for example, I am very angry as a woman looking at that picture of Priyanka Gandhi. I don't know if you've seen it. Priyanka Gandhi went to meet that family of the rape victim in Uttar Pradesh. So she's stopped by someone and the cop just pulls her salwar kameez, the male cop. Seeing that as a woman really angers me. Like half the time, many people don't realize, actually nobody realizes the kind of danger which women journalists put themselves in when they are reporting. When we are reporting a political rally or people molest us in all ways possible, including cops. So when I see that picture, I feel so angry on behalf of Priyanka Gandhi, on behalf of all women, on behalf of women like me who have to go to all these places to cover. I mean, if I was a politician, I would have gone like her. But if I put a status now, ranting about Priyanka Gandhi, some 50 years later, a screenshot will come about how I was a blind Priyanka Gandhi supporter when Priyanka Gandhi does something really idiotic in her life. So I am really thinking now, should I write something or should I not write something? So these are the problems which we face. So I keep telling journalists in my office that you may not like a particular party. For example, you may not like the BJP at all. But, when you as a journalist also continuously give your personal opinion and simply your personal opinion about things you're not even covering, you're not there, it is happening somewhere else and you're giving your personal opinion. Tomorrow, why should someone trust you when you do a story which is against them? Because they're going to think it's only because of your bias. So it's a very thin line for journalists also. But then they ask me back, I feel very strongly about it. I am at the cusp of history where I want to talk about it. How can you stop me from talking? So I tell them, I'm not stopping you from talking, but stand back and think that how will this impact your work? How will this impact your persona as a journalist? How are people going to judge your work? So, but I also understand their frustration. They want to talk about many things.
Do you journalists talk among each other? Do you guys try to figure out what is wrong and try to come up with something?
No, all the time. For example, like I told you, right, the 8 years I worked in television, the kind of insensitive stuff that I have done myself, I would never do them again now. I would never do them because I have been in a process of unlearning for the last 6-7 years. See, I use social media mainly I would say I unlearn more than I learn. Either what are my privileges as an upper caste person? Where should I speak? Where should I not speak? These are things that I've learned recently. I have actually cracked a rape joke around 10 years ago, which I now know that it's not right. So the point is you need to unlearn. And to unlearn social media is a good place because there are a lot of people who have a lot of ideas, who share a lot. Malayalam, of course, it's too much sometimes. 2,000 vaakku, 5,000 vaakku. Like sometimes I don't understand why people cannot condense and write in Malayalam Facebook. Like then I think the idea propagation would be much more because people write really astounding arguments on Malayalam Facebook, but it's just so long that I don't even know who's reading 5,000 words all the time. So I hope all Malayali influencers will start writing less because that will help a lot of people learn and unlearn. And generally, like I'm going back to what I said. I mean, in this world, you need to have separate circles. The circles where I have a close group of friends of journalists where the biggest frustration for me now for the last, I think 10 days has been a particular case in Kerala, which is the Malayali actor's rape in a car in 2017. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there is a gag from the court that we cannot report what is happening. The in-camera proceedings cannot be reported. whoever has been reporting it have been getting legal notices from Delhi, right? And I really want to report so many things. There is a petition to cancel his bail, which is making very serious allegations about how witnesses are being influenced. There are really serious allegations being reported about one particular witness who is crucial in the case and what was done to that man. But I really want to report it. I want to talk about it. And I'm talking to my group of friends as to what do we do as journalists? How do we report this? Because like you said, there is no way I can make that discussion reach a conclusion. But I, as a journalist, have a duty to ensure that it reaches other people, right? And I'm not able to do it. So these are things which really confuse me, which irritate me. And then I try to figure out with my own group. So that is always necessary. You have to have your own group of confidence. So in journalism, I definitely know that all of us have. We may say something outside, but inside we'll be having all these discussions. Is that really true? What is happening? What is happening? Otherwise, we cannot be sane. No chance.
So that discussion is there to
Yes.
not to revolutionize media, but at least to figure out how to survive in a sane manner, right?
No, not only that. See, all of us are not experts in everything, right? We also don't know sometimes like what is happening. So I obviously ask someone who covers a particular beat, who understands better than me. Then I get that person's perspective. Then of course I have to figure out my own perspective. But it's important that you exchange ideas. You cannot have your mind closed to anything. That's the big problem. I feel people in social media who are using it all the time are sometimes very close to other ideas.
So where do you find News Minute? And News Minute is primarily covering the South Indian news, right? It's Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Andhra Pradesh. So the Telangana,
Yeah.
Andhra and Telangana. So what is your audience? Is it Kerala or is it more from Chennai, Tamil Nadu, or where is your audience mostly?
Yeah, it's mostly Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, then Kochi, then of course Bombay, Pune, and some people abroad also. But see, the news minute is very clear. When you cover news, you cover news. You give all sides, whatever it is, and mostly we try not to do source-based stuff. If we get a confirmation on record, we put out a story. Do people in News Minute have their opinion? Of course, they have their opinion. All journalists have their opinion. The problem is, no journalist can say I'm neutral or I'm not biased. The bias works right from the selection of the story. Either when there are two stories in front of me, should I cover A or B? That itself is my bias, right? I prefer to cover A because that is my bias. Then who do I talk to cover that story? What is the angle I put out? So biases are there in every story we do, but we are staunch feminists.
Right.
And there is no compromise on that. Any story we do, from crime to cinema to politics, we will have a feminist angle to it, and we are unapologetic about it.
And that is another interesting discussion when it comes to Kerala. Not just Kerala, all over, I think India and world, but it is in different levels you start talking about it. Now,
feminist, feminist, those kind of discussions. No?
Yeah.
No, see, basically people, I don't understand how people still misunderstand feminism. It is simply equality. It is someone who believes in equality of sexes. That's about it, right? For example, it's all in the way you report. Either if I'm a woman, or let's say I'm a Muslim, which I'm not, or I'm a Dalit, which again I'm not, I have certain lived experiences, right? But I have the lived experience of a woman. So, or a small example, if somebody is reporting crime, this is my favorite example. I like to give it everywhere because I think it's the best example to explain to people. So there was this particular case in Chennai, somewhere in Tamil Nadu, where the wife kills the husband on the first night. Okay, and the agency gives a report saying her wife kills hubby who's not handsome on the first night. Everybody carries that story. Now, why does everybody carry that story? On one glance, I can tell you that story was reported by a male crime reporter who never asked a question to the cop as to what is her side of the story, because he does not have the lived experience of woman, or he does not think on the basis of equality to at least ask that question. So same thing, my reporter calls and asks, or somebody else could also have done the same thing, I don't know. The policeman tells her that, look, the woman was not agreeable to the wedding. She did not want to get married. She was forced to get married, and the man tried to force himself on her on the first night. So in self-defense, she kills him is her explanation of the crime. She could be lying, I don't know. But the point is, as a journalist, to sort of ask for that angle. Now, why would I ask for that angle? I will ask for that angle only if I have the lived experience, right? And I want to bring out. So being a feminist, I think, gives a lot of perspective. It makes you want to report things in a much more balanced way. It makes you voice out for injustice. For example, when we were writing film reviews, we would be very against these heroes who are stalking women. Especially Tamil, Telugu cinema is full of heroes who are stalking women. Like even in Malayalam cinema, there are of course many examples. But initially when we started writing it like 6 years ago, people would abuse us saying, why are you watching a movie in a feminist way? Today you see at that time it was only one more Malayali called Anna Vettikad who was doing that. And then we started it. Anna was like pioneered this actually. And then we also started it. Today you see most of the reviews do that, right? There is a feminist viewpoint. Why cannot we see movies with a feminist viewpoint? Crime, whatever it is. Look at you started by talking about Jolly and Swapna Suresh and all that, right? How are those crimes treated? Simply because they are women. Swapnangalale Swapna Kumari. Would you say that about the Sandeep Nair, Swapnangalale Sandeep? Why? Because it's a woman. So there is a way in which we look at things just because people are women. And so we want to change the way reporting language functions more than anything else, how things are written. For example, Malayalam, there's a word, Manabangam. I don't agree with that word.
Because you, Manam Bhangikinu, right? That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So even our language is so problematic, right? Why are we not questioning that language? So I think the root, when you are reporters, journalists who are also feminists, you start questioning these things.
Yeah. So yes, and it is always. I don't think the feminism discussion in Kerala, they don't even want to have a platform of continuously discussing that, except for few people who are discussing. And when there is a difference of opinion between two people who are said to be feminists, that becomes a big thing for a lot of other people on the side because they think, oh, now there is a difference of opinion between feminists, kind of stuff. Like
so
feminists cannot have a difference of opinion.
Agree with each other. We have to disagree with each other. That's the whole point. Right? We disagree, we learn, we unlearn. I mean, sometimes I find these discussions so problematic, and I don't understand why people don't go to the basics that feminism is only for equality. Are you against equality? If you are for equality, then you're also feminist. Maybe you don't like that word feminist because it has got FEM on it. But the point is, if you are for equality, then you are a feminist. There's this Malayalam actor who told me once, he first told me that I don't want to take his name, but he said that I don't believe there is any sexual harassment in Malayalam film industry. They have to, if they want only it will happen. I allow my wife to work. I'm like, did you just say I allow my wife to work? That is the problem. So these are all subtle things. We have all grown up like that. We have grown up in patriarchal households where our families behave in a certain manner. We just have to unlearn it. What we learned, we have to unlearn it.
But there are a lot of people, just like you said, I allow my wife to work. Many people think, yes. One person said that, see, anyone who has a mother and sister, I love my mother and sister, I am a feminist. So I said, it is good that you love your mother and sister, but that is not what giving equality to mother and loving your mother and sister is not.
It's not the same. Exactly.
They're not the same. And it's very difficult for men, as you said. You can understand
it's
feminism.
For women also. No, it's not only for men. It's difficult for many women also because we've all grown up in those households. Like, for example, when I grew up, I didn't want my mother to do all the things that she does for my father. And I would tell her, stop it. She would say, I'm happy. So the point is, if she has found happiness in what she does, I'm no one to tell her to change her ways. She's happy to do it, fine. But in my house, for example, we don't have any gender roles. I don't know. I mean, I can cook perhaps to live, but I don't want to. I choose not to. And my husband wants to do everything because he does not want our son to learn gender roles. He says if it was a daughter, perhaps maybe he would have done lesser because it's okay, I will teach her about gender roles. Because it's a son, he wants to show him that there is nothing called gender defined roles. So it all starts from your house, what you teach your children, what you do to yourself. I mean, I could be doing two mistakes today, someone else points out to me. That's fine. Like, for example, the organization that I run now, I have many people from, I have at least one or two people from the LGBTQ community, right? So even my thoughts about the community, how they should function, how their thoughts and what I can do as an ally, that has shifted a lot in the last 2 or 3 years because I've learned from them. Like, for example, we shouldn't be calling someone a trans person or a transsexual. We have to first ask them, what do you want to be identified as? And that person has to tell us. It is not for us to give them identity. They have to tell us what is their identity. So, it's a constant learning process. We have to listen to other people to understand. Me being a journalist, I have to constantly listen. Otherwise, I can't report new things. I cannot be writing new things, right? And that applies to anyone because now everybody who's on social media is like a semi journalist, right? So, all those people have to start listening.
It's very interesting, as you said, this whole unlearning process, because that makes it very difficult for a lot of people. Because um, and this needs this requires people on every side to be more lenient on certain things as well. For example, see, when I speak, many times I use the word he, him on generic terms where it could be a he, she, anything, So, but this is a big unlearning. And even then, so when you have a conversation with some people who are very strong about these, they don't give you the space sometimes to even do that unlearning. You say he, you say she, you're not supposed to say that.
Yeah.
And that, if I am having a problem, I'm thinking, and I probably about 4 or 5 years back publicly started saying I'm a feminist. Before that, I never said I was a feminist. I said that was the first step to start learning and unlearning, because if you don't do that, then you're always behind a bit, So accepting that feminism is about equality, whether it's gender equality, women's equality, it's all equality. And in various, people don't understand that feminism as a movement has works on different levels, right? What are you doing other than the normal work? Is there many feminist groups and everything in Kerala, right, and throughout India? But are there other news or other media or digital platforms which talk purely on this? I know on the caste equality and everything, there's definitely there. But what are the other avenues for people to really start understanding about feminism?
I think the easier way is to read books on feminism. There are lots of podcasts, YouTube videos, and all that. But there are also many discussions, like follow feminists on social media, see what they are saying. There are so, like, I have a colleague called Soumya Rajendran who writes on art, cinema. She's a writer herself. And she writes children's books also with a very feminist viewpoint. Some of her characters are like that. So start reading things. I mean, that's the only way, right? And and I agree with you. Sometimes we are too harsh on people, I think. Like, for example, someone makes a mistake, everybody's just pouncing on that person, 100 news articles the next day. I do think as society, we can be more lenient. I mean, I have been very harsh on people myself, but maybe because I'm growing older now, I think that we should be lenient on people. They can make mistakes, give them a chance. But we cannot be lenient. Like, there are people who genuinely make mistakes. If they say, yes, fine, I'm ready to change, it's okay. We have to move ahead, right? I mean, after all, what is the point of any discussion? It's just to convert people, it is to make them understand, move over to the other side. So I think that we have to understand. But social media can be brutal.
Yeah,
We use and misuse it in many ways to be harsh on other people. So that I think we all need to understand that we could be in that situation the next day.
we could, because when we, especially when we are talking about certain issues, um, we don't know everything. The first thing that he said, right? You don't know about everything, and this is, and things can be very complex for us to understand. So, as a man, I always feel that if I have to talk about feminism, women's rights, I always look at it from outside, or I have seen it through my wife and my daughter and what they go through. So there was a time when I did not know anything about menstruation.
What I told you before also, it's not only men, it's also women who cannot sometimes understand. For example, this whole period leave, the whole conversation around whether we should have period leave. I have seen some really strong voices, like for example, Barkha Dutt is against period leave. She thinks that if period leave is given, then it can create much more discrimination against women. Now, I'm saying that she or me cannot be speaking on behalf of all women, right? People have different physical experiences. Maybe some of them want to take leave. I mean, how can you be discriminating against a woman simply because she goes through a biological process every month? So these are conversations we need to have in our house right from with our kids. From the time they can understand whether it's a male child or a female child. Just yesterday, we were watching a movie, and my son gets very angry at me, and he says in front of everybody, "You're being sexist, Amma. You wear diaper." I'm like, no, I don't wear diaper. I use sanitary pad. And what is the conversation here? What is sexism in that? So he is confused a lot of things. I have talked to him about sexism, about gender bias, about sanitary pad, and he's just confused everything. So now I have to sit and teach him again. I mean, I have to tell him again that this is not connected to that. This is something else. Because I've realized that I have muddled his brain. So now I have to do some, like I have to untangle all those things that I have done. So this is a problem. We need to have conversations, but sometimes we need to have age appropriate stuff. Like I think I have burdened himself with too much information right now.
No, that actually it's a very interesting conversation to have in a family, because here uh, so I always, when the conversation happens over here, I'm on one side. My son, 13-year-old, he's a feminist. He said he's a feminist from quite some time. So then I have Usha, then daughter, and then we have a dog. So I'm the only guy who is a man kind of. My son will say that, okay, you don't treat me with you. But there's a lot of possibilities to discuss about what is happening in a very safe setting, right? When you're talking about it, even we talk about things that are sometimes very sexist, because unless you talk about it, kids are not understanding what is sexism outside, right? Because if you don't really discuss those things, when they go outside, they don't know, because we don't have to show that, but at least that conversation should happen, because
that's very, very important. For example, going back to my son, he had a multiple choice in his exam now because it's all online, right? The multiple choice was, where does your mother cook in the house? Kitchen, dining room, drawing room, garden. So he's like, why is the question only mother? At least he understands that now, because he has been told that it is sexist. Now, the moment his friends come, there is peer pressure. He used to have Wonder Woman's doll along with all the other Avengers and all the other stuff that he used to have. He also had a Wonder Woman. Somebody made fun of him. Immediately he removes it from the room. So no matter how much in his safe space where his parents are there, he wants to be a progressive, non-sexist person. The second that peer pressure comes, he will change. So this is the problem. The conversations cannot be limited to just him then. So when his friends come, I have to also talk to them. And I'm sure their families also do. So this is constant, it's ongoing. It never stops. And we should not tire ourselves. So at the News Minute, we think that we cannot tire ourselves talking each and every time and pointing it out. Because there's a new generation learning each time, right? There is a new person reading each article. So we can't say, oh my God, how many times will we say the same thing? I'm saying we will say the same thing again and again and again. It's fine. Because every time we say the same thing, maybe we get that one additional person who starts believing in it. And that's very important for me as a journalist.
Anything else that you want to? I want to take some time for you to talk about News Minute. I'm a loyalty customer now, and so people from
that's something that I want to tell everyone who's watching, that if you want to read news which is independent, you have to stop complaining and start contributing in whatever ways. Many of the Indian news outlets, especially digital, we're all small. We don't know how many years we can survive in this atmosphere. So start contributing to them. Like at the News Minute, we have membership. The Wire allows you to donate. Scroll has subscription. News Laundry has membership and subscription. So whichever is a news media that you believe in, that you want them to go on writing, you should do your bit. It's just 3 or 4 Starbucks coffee or coffee day coffee or whatever it is. But if we don't do our bit, then we are going to end up having only 9 o'clock debates where 10 people are talking non-stop, of which 8 people have no clue what they're talking about.
Okay, okay, that's right. And you're always going to be on the print side. You've not looked at um, the other media. You've not looked at podcast or anything like that.
We want to, but we don't have the kind of resources right now. We do videos a little bit, but I want to do more podcasts. I mean, I want to do a lot of things. I want to start the news minute in Telugu, Malayalam, Tamil, Kannada. But the point is, all our plans have been blocked by the pandemic, and I don't know how everyone's going to recover. Hopefully, we will, because we have to. This is a point of history, especially for people living in India, where we have to speak up, we have to be there, we have to be on the side of the right, on the side of
I
what
think
is right.
right
Sorry.
on the side of, yeah, on the side of what is right, and also not be on the sidelines watching,
Yeah.
because that's also a majority of people. Because when history is in the making, you shouldn't be on the sides watching. You need to be part of it, right?
No, I remember when I used to work in Times Now, Ornab used to tell us that when the history of Indian journalism is written, he and Times Now will be there on that map of history of having changed how Indian journalism worked. Sadly, he's going to be on that map very prominently. I believe that I may be a small part in that map, maybe even an insignificant part, but I would like to continue to be there and do my bit to undo a lot of other things which are being done elsewhere.
Anything else that you have to,
No,
for viewers,
that's
readers?
about it. I mean, I can understand people's frustration with the news media, why people are disillusioned with the news media. But I just want to say that not all news media is evil, not all journalists are evil. See, there is a plan across the world. You take Trump, you take Narendra Modi, you take so many leaders. There is a whole plan to make media, to discredit media, to make media look bad. Of course, we also contribute to it. I'm not saying that we don't by some of our actions, but not everything is bleak or dark. Have some hope and also, start contributing to these media organizations more in whatever way possible.
Yeah, because because when we started, I said I am on a sabbatical, not listening to media, and and I also said that I I don't think I've lost anything. I don't feel anything has changed in my life, which is also the scariest part, because many of the items that I think very dear to and need to be spoken often don't have enough mileage within the media. That's what happens. The issues that you need to talk about, issues are, they don't come up into the limelight pretty much. And sometimes it's important as a viewer, reader, to take that break and read some books and look at what is happening. And that was one reason I said News Minute, because I want to be focusing on one place. Because when I pay for something, I know that I'm going to spend more time reading this rather than going for something else, which helps me shape my thought. And I'm not saying just News Minute. You know, if you are a very Sangi oriented or a Kami oriented or any other thing, you can go and read their stuff, but pay for it and read it is what my point is. Because anything that comes free has some hidden burden that you don't want to take. So for me,
Yeah.
since I'm becoming a member, I think that changes. That gives me more reason to read something, and it's important because out of all this commotion and noise, you kind of get what news is. Because
Yeah.
taking news out of noise is and it's a lot of effort.
That's true.
Thanks, Danya.
Thank you so much. It was nice talking to you.
Same here. Take care.